Okay. Um, I'm Bonnie Rockman. Thanks for joining. This is a workshop. It'll last probably 45 minutes or so, where I will present the details of how to approach writing college essays, and then you can ask any of your questions at the end. I am going to share a PowerPoint. Um, okay. Okay, great. Okay, so cover page. So I really like to start by telling everyone that I know this is a super stressful process. I've gone through it three times with my own children, so I'm not just talking about it like from a professional perspective, but it is can be very stressful. There are a lot of unknowns. And so I like to start by saying, um, relax. There's really it's not like there's one formula for writing a successful college essay. There are lots and lots of ways to go about it. There's some core elements that you're going to want to include, which I'll go into. But it's not like there's just one way to do it. Okay, so elements. The reason I call it a successful essay and not a good essay is because I don't like to think of it as a good essay or a bad essay. Really, what you're trying to do is write a successful essay, and the elements of a successful essay are conveyed by exploring how an event or a person or a thing has influenced the writer, the student. Um, you often do that by emphasizing what's called small moments. For kids who've grown up in the Seattle public school system, a lot of elementary schools use something called Writers Workshop, and Writers Workshop focuses on writing about small moments. So instead of coming in to school after, for example, after summer vacation and having second graders write about what did you do this summer, the teacher might say something like, think about, one specific thing that you did and write about that. Rather than writing about it, I went to the beach and I went to the mountains and I did this and that. Um, the student might write about I visited my grandparents and they took me to my favorite ice cream shop and they let me get a waffle cone with sprinkles, which my parents never let me get, and I got a triple decker and it fell on the ground. So just something like this one moment in time. Um, and so that's really the same kind of thing that you want to be doing in your college essay. Not you don't want to regurgitate your resume. This isn't really a time to it's not really a time to boast about yourself. It's a time to convey things about you that a college admissions team cannot glean from the rest of your application. So successful essays show change. They'll start at like a certain point, and then and it'll follow a narrative arc. So it'll lead to like a change in thinking or attitude or outlook by the time you get to the end of it. And then that change is really the theme that kind of carries your essay through. Um, so choosing a topic. That's an area that really stresses out a lot of people. Um, so there are a lot of ways to go about it, and I think parents can actually be really helpful in helping their kids brainstorm. So you can start by taking out a piece of paper and just start free associating. Just think about it like, okay, there are no bad ideas. So think about like important experiences or impactful experiences that kids have had, maybe particularly interesting trips they've taken, cool or difficult or intriguing people that they've met, places they've gone, character traits that they feel are really core, like really central to who they are, that they want to convey. Um, okay, now we're going to talk about about the structure of how you some of you may already know this. Some of you may be working with college counselors who are helping develop your students list. Other parents and families and kids are doing this on their own. Anyway, is totally great. But I'm just saying that to point out that, or rather to recognize that some of you may know what the Common App is, and for others, this may be the first time you're hearing about it. So the Common App is short for the Common Application, and what it is, it's really different from. I'm in my early 50s, so when I was applying to college, in 1990, you had to fill out paper applications and apply to every single school individually, which may be why I only applied to two schools. But now you have the Common App, and it is a way to apply to a bunch of colleges. You can apply to actually up to 20, although that's really not recommended to apply to that many, but you can if you want, all by using the same application. And the benefit of that is you only have to fill out all the demographic information once, and you also only need to write one personal statement. So your main personal statement is written as part of the Common App, and then that personal statement goes to all the schools that you've applied to. So they see that one essay. In addition, lots of schools have what are called supplemental essays. So, in addition to that main Common App personal statement, they, depending upon the school, may want to, a really common supplemental essay is, essentially it's worded kind of more eloquently, but it's like, why do you want to come here? So what do you want to do here? What appeals to you about this place? University of Washington, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a few minutes. Their supplemental is about community. It's not really about what do you want to do at UW, but it actually is about what you want to do at UW because they're asking how would you be part of the community at UW. A lot sometimes University of Chicago has a really esoteric supplemental that current students come up with every year. So it just runs the whole gamut. But the one constant that you know that you're going to have to do is this overall Common App personal statement. You have 7 essay prompts. Well, that's on the next screen, and it can't exceed 650 words. Okay, so here are the prompts. We'll just run through them quickly. And again, I just want to emphasize you only choose one. So I've had students think they need to write all 7 of these, but you do not. So the first is some students have a background or an identity or an interest or talent that is so meaningful that there's just no way that they could write their essay about anything other than that one particular thing. So then share your story if that describes you. The second is when we encounter obstacles, we face challenges, setbacks, failures, basically things don't go as planned. How did it affect you? What did you learn from the experience? So that is a really, really obvious way to think of incorporating what I was talking about a couple slides back about incorporating the element of change. Okay, number 3, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? That is not the most popular of prompts, but I have had some students write about it. There was one student really wrote a really beautiful essay about his relationship with his grandfather. So the student had 2 moms, and the grandfather lived someplace in a rural town in the Midwest and was against gay marriage. And the student wrote about his relationship, kind of like finding common ground with his grandfather. Number 4, reflect on something that someone has done for you that's made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has that gratitude affected or motivated you? That has been a Common App prompt for a couple years now. The important thing with this prompt is not just writing about being grateful, but the important part of this prompt is reflect something that someone's done for you in a surprising way. So it's like something that someone has done that was completely or partially partially completely that was unexpected, and how you reflecting on that. Number five, discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. I have found over 10 or so years of doing this that this ends up being the most popular prompt. Now, just because it's the most popular and most more students choose to use this prompt than any other doesn't mean that it's better than any of the other prompts. It's just that this happens to encapsulate a lot of things that students tend to write about, because when you see, you have accomplishment, event, or realization, just like a thought, like kind of a thought process, that sparks a period of personal growth. So it really is a catch-all and encompasses a lot of things that students might want to write about. Number six, describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. So that's like, oh, you're completely obsessed with, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything academic. It could be like Star Trek or, um, knitting. It could be, it really could be anything, and just why you're so obsessed with that. And the last is should be we can it kind of points back to that slide, one of those initial slides that was showing about relax, because you can write about anything you want. So it could be something you've already written. What it can't be is a paper that you've done for school, because that's just not the right kind of writing. Because it's called, it's called your personal statement. So they really want to learn something about you. It's not like supposed to be a piece of academic writing. If you find that there's something that you want to write about and you don't feel that it fits neatly into any of these prompts, no worries. You can always submit under prompt 7. Okay. Um, there are two pretty significant changes to the Common App this year that you should know about. So the first is that back in fall of 2020, when we were right in the thick of COVID, the Common App introduced a prompt asking you specifically about COVID and how has it impacted you. It was optional at the time, but if you like didn't have access to a spot, or a parent, um, you know, uh, got very sick or lost your job, or just any kind of if COVID really impacted your family in a way that was above and beyond how it impacted pretty much everyone in the world, that was an opportunity for you to talk about that. So now that COVID has kind of receded from the forefront, the Common App has decided to still keep this prompt, but to broaden it out. So they're not calling it challenges and circumstances this year. And so they're giving you this space, again, optional, to talk about anything that you feel has presented a particular challenge to your academic, or to your academic success, or your basically how you're presenting yourself as an applicant. So this is a space, and then they list all of these different things, community disruptions, family disruptions. Say you have to you're actually not very involved in extracurriculars because maybe you have to take care of an elderly grandparent. This is a space to talk about that. Let's say you don't have stable housing. This is a place to talk about that. You also may choose to talk about that in your personal statement, to write about that, and that's fine. So that's why this is optional. I'm going to go a little bit later into talking about like when optional really means required, and when it really means optional. But in this case, it actually is optional. So you obviously don't want to write something here and make kind of blow something out of proportion if it really has not been super impactful on your life or your experience as a student. But if there is something that you want to write about, they give you a space to do that. Um, so the next part is the additional information section. That is the second change this year. So in the past several years, they gave you actually an additional 650 words to write additional information. And what happened is that some overachievers essentially treated that like an extra essay. And I think that colleges were not too happy with that because they didn't want to read all of that. So this year, the additional information section is now has been pared down to less than half, so to 300 words. And additional information is also optional, and it actually is completely optional. It's like additional information is a place um, to add to apply a place to explain something that you haven't had room to explain elsewhere. For example, maybe you go to a school that doesn't have any AP offerings. This would be a place to explain why you haven't taken AP classes. Maybe you um, couldn't, you tried to register for a certain course and it was full and you couldn't get it. And that's why you don't have a math class in, your senior year or something like that. So you can add stuff like that. If you have something that really you need to expand upon, and you don't have enough space in your activities list, you can do that here. But again, this is really just optional. You don't need to feel like you need to go into this. Okay, University of Washington, a lot of students around here apply to UW. So one interesting thing about UW is that it is a new participant in the Common App. I think this is now their third year. And so students who are going to be applying to UW among other schools, they need to approach the writing of the personal statement a bit differently. And that is because all those 7 prompts that we talked about a few minutes ago, UW does not take all those 7 prompts. UW only has one prompt that they accept, and it's not even a Common App prompt. It is a holdover from what's called the Coalition application, which is a competitor of the Common App, and UW was a member of the Coalition application before they became a member of the Common App. And they liked this coalition prompt so much that they've carried it over. So it's tell a story from your life, describing an experience that either demonstrates your character or helped to shape it. Um, and so you have to, if you're applying to UW, you have to answer this prompt. But the good news is that it intersects pretty closely with Common App prompts 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's not like you need to write two completely separate personal statements. You can really write the same one and submit. So you write it like you tailor it like you're writing it for UW, and then it can also work as your general Common App personal statement. UW, as I had mentioned, also has a supplemental essay that's 300 words long about communities. It says our families and communities often define us in our individual worlds. Community might refer to your cultural group, extended family, religious group, neighborhood or school, sports team or club, coworkers, etc. Describe the world you come from and how you, as a product of it, might add to the diversity of the UW. So that is a required supplemental essay for UW. Then they also have some additional information, which really overlaps with the Common App. So if you have additional information for UW, it's probably already in the Common App section. You can just copy and paste that here as well. Okay. A lot of students also apply to UC schools, University of California schools. So UCSD, UCSB, UC Davis, et cetera, et cetera. They are their own beast. So the University of California system is so large that it has its own application with its own essays, which they call personal insight questions. You students choose 4 of 8 of these personal insight questions to answer, each in 350 words or less. So I really advise students, I guess, to go in one of 2 ways. So if they basically be really sure that you want to apply to to a school to a UC school because it is going to require a significant amount of additional work above and beyond the Common App. And if you do apply to a UC school, you might as well apply to several of them, assuming there are several of them that you would be interested in attending, because it all you do is check a box and pay an additional application fee. But it's the same thing. So the UC system, you are not personalizing your these four personal insight questions for a Berkeley or for UCLA. It's just all the questions are exactly the same. The same exact application goes to all of the UC schools. So if you're doing all that work, you might as well, kind of hedge your bets, is how I'll often advise students. And then this link here below gives some really good information about how to think about responding to these questions. Because they are a little bit different than the Common App personal statement. You have less time to get, so you can't do kind of as much storytelling. You have to be more concise, but you still really do want to tell a story. You just need to do it. You need to get to the point much quicker than you do in the Common App. Okay, so here you can just get an idea of the UC prompts. So one is describe an example of your leadership experience where you've positively influenced others. Another one is writing about creativity and all the ways that it can be expressed. So describe your creative side. Um, Third is your greatest talent or skill and how you've developed that over time. Four is how you've taken advantage of this is kind of either a significant educational opportunity or how you've worked to overcome an educational barrier that's been presented. Five is a significant challenge you faced and how you've overcome that challenge and how it's affected your academic achievement, if it has. Six is write about your favorite academic subject and how you've developed that interest, either inside or outside of school. Seven is really about community service and what you've done to make your school or your community a better place. And then eight is kind of like the seventh prompt in the Common App. Like, write about anything. Why do you think, why should you see schools want you on their campus? What makes you a strong candidate for admission to the University of California? Okay, so this is just a little slide I throw in there just because I think it's interesting. We talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago, but in a recent cycle, 49% of students wrote about their background, identity, interest, or talent, 22% about an accomplishment, 17% about a lesson or failure, 10% about a problem solved, and 4% about an idea or a belief that was challenged. Okay, this is I love telling this story because I think that it shows that you really can write about anything. So this young woman, Brittany, she wrote an essay about Costco. This was, I don't know, this is probably going on like eight or so years ago, and she got into a number of very competitive schools. And she wrote about Costco, about going there as a child and growing up, strolling through the aisles and thinking about how just like how interesting it was and how great it was to be like international and think of all the things that are all the things that she had, all the goods and like the places that could lead her. So you can really write about anything. I mean, here she's writing about Costco. Um, Okay. Can I just use Chat GPT? No, you cannot. The reason you can't is because it sounds generic, grammatically correct, yes, but it's not going to be a personal statement about you. It's going to be kind of like a lot of platitudes, and admissions officers have gotten really good by now at telling who's using Chat GPT to write their essays. So I really strongly encourage students to do their own thinking and their own writing because admissions officers can tell that. And then here's a funny little New York Times article about about someone asking for a pop song that could represent curiosity as a soundtrack to someone's life. I think that's a Princeton supplemental, if I'm remembering correctly. And Chat GPT suggested a song that was about sex. So you don't want to be relying on Chat GPT to help you with your college essays. Um, Okay, almost anything goes. Define experience broadly. So it could be meeting with an influential person, a news story that spurred you to action, a family event, a weakness or challenge, something that could be totally insignificant to everyone else, but is really important to you. Like someone met Donny Osmond, who probably means nothing to students on here, but parents will remember who he is. She met him in kind of like a washed up America's Got Talent kind of thing, and she wrote about that. Okay, so you've settled on a topic. Now what? First, what you want to do is fine tune your theme. So we talked about themes earlier: overcoming adversity, hard work, respect for difference, confronting fear, mistakes made, persistence, curiosity, on and on and on and on. What do you want to be conveying? Next, you create an outline. You brainstorm anecdotes to begin your essay, and then you really create a writing schedule to keep yourself on track. Okay, so essay ABCs, brainstorm topics. This is kind of generally how I work with students. We brainstorm topics, identify some themes, choose your top several ideas, map out each of the ideas to see like where could this go, kind of what deeper levels are there, what kinds of themes can you bring out, what do you feel most excited to really engage with? Because you do have to write close to 650 words about it. Brainstorm anecdotal leads, like ways to start your essay by showing, not telling. So something that's much more engaging. Writing your opening paragraph using that anecdotal lead. Then writing your body paragraphs, your conclusion. This you really, want to end make it something compelling, and like this is kind of where you illustrate the change that has occurred. And then you revise and you revise and you revise again. Okay, if they say an essay is optional, do it anyway. That does not apply to the two things that I mentioned earlier, where they truly are optional, the challenges and circumstances and the additional information. But sometimes for supplementals, a school will say, you have the option to write a supplemental essay about, why you want to attend the University of Wisconsin. University of Wisconsin is not optional, so it's a bad example, but just I'm just using that. So if they're giving you an option to write if they're saying that a supplemental essay for their own college is optional, it's never optional. Because why would they think about like why would they want to accept someone who doesn't even want to do the work to write that extra supplemental? So you always want to do the work if they give you the option of doing the work or not doing the work for their individual school. Um, I just wanted to add that you probably saw that pop up a minute ago about the free meeting ending in 10 minutes. So I have a paid account, so I'm not sure why it's saying that. And I rather than troubleshooting it, I assume it's going to cut us off. So I know this is annoying, but if everyone just wants to rejoin, we can continue with the Q&A. So sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened with Zoom. Um, Okay, tip, don't be trite. I didn't realize how fortunate I was until I spent the summer at an orphanage in Guatemala. While that is absolutely true and an amazing experience for the student, um, you really don't want to write your essay on the backs of less fortunate people. Although that feels true, it's very cliched. So if you want to write about that experience at an orphanage in Guatemala, you have to kind of think of a more creative way. You don't want to just talk about being fortunate. You have to talk about maybe a friendship forged with a child there, or a parent there, or a realization that you had about something that was so different, or things that were similar, just something, a different way to approach it. You really don't want to be cliched. Okay, a little bit about me. I have three kids who I mentioned. So a Garfield student who just graduated from Yale last week. Roosevelt grad who is at Washington University in St. Louis, and a Roosevelt senior headed to University of Miami. I love working with students no matter where they want to go. I have students going everywhere this year from Harvard to community colleges, and I can't even say I have a preference. I just really love working with this age student to help them figure out what their story is. They don't really do a lot of writing like this in school, so it can feel very uncomfortable to be giving these like insights into who they are and what makes them tick. And sometimes they may not even realize. So I like helping them make connections and figuring out what the right topic is and how to approach that. Um, I've written a book about genetics, and I currently work at Fred Hutch Cancer Center as a science writer. So I do this obviously I'm not doing this year round. That's my contact information. Um, I do one-on-one coaching. I used to do group coaching. I found that I just really wasn't able to deliver the kind of services that I wanted when I had large groups or small groups. So I do one-on-one coaching. It's $1,000 payable via Venmo or Zelle. And in that time, it's 4 hours of time spread out usually over a month. And we work together. In person or online, and then back and forth via Google Docs and until the personal statement is complete. I also work with students on supplemental essays if that is something that they're interested in. Um, Also, if the price presents a problem, please contact me. Most important tip I have, start working on your essay over the summer. Senior year is a really busy year. It's a really fun year. And if you can come into senior year with at least your personal statement done, then you have all that time to focus on writing your supplementals, and things will go a lot more smoothly. Um, okay, that is the end of the slideshow. If people have questions, you can shout them out. You can put them in the chat, and I will stop this recording and email out the recording afterwards in case you want some of the links in the presentation. So, does anyone have any questions?
Is it better to use one of the prompts or use the prompt that lets you do more of an open-ended, or is it really whatever works for you?
It's really whatever works for you. There's no preference about what's important is what you convey about yourself. It doesn't matter what prompt you choose. Two new messages. Yes, I will send the presentation. Do colleges care about the tone, like how professional you sound or if you're bragging? You don't need to sound professional, and you definitely shouldn't brag. So let your accomplishments speak for themselves. The place for you to brag in your application is